Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Couch Brotato Podcast. Producer Adam's joining me on today's program as him and I sit down to discuss the 1984 comedy classic Ghostbusters. That's right, we decided to call on the Ghostbusters for part 4 of our spooky season month of horror and spooky themed movies here on the Couch Brotato Podcast. Him and I are going to give you our takes on some of the best scenes, lines, supporting performances, and give you some tidbits about the behind-the-scenes making of this classic. So, after the trailer, the Couch Brotato Podcast presents to you Ghostbusters.
Ghosts, they're real, they're here, and someone's got to stop them. It's a job for professionals. It's a job for the Ghostbusters.
Hey, anybody see a ghost?
They're the best, the brave, the only. Ghostbusters, coming to save the world this summer.
We're ready to believe you.
Who you gonna call? Rated PG.
All right, joined by producer Adam, and if you don't know what movie we are doing by now, then I don't know what to fucking tell you. But we are doing as round 4 in the spooky month of horror movies that we're doing here on the show. We're doing Ghostbusters, which was producer Adam's pick. And before we get into it, if you want to know what the fuck this movie is about, basically, brief synopsis: 3 Columbia University scientists who specialize in the paranormal start a business investigating paranormal activity after they are fired by the university. So that pretty much sums up Ghostbusters. Adam, why did you choose this one for spooky season month here on the show?
Well, whenever anybody thinks of spooky season movies, they always think of their favorite horror movies. This one, though, is kind of in between horror and comedy, and I thought that it would be cool to switch it up with that kind of feel. But not only that, it's probably one of my favorite movies to revisit during Halloween, just because of the creepy factor, just the ambiance of the movie. Plus, when I was a kid, anyways, everybody wanted to go trick-or-treating as a Ghostbuster. So, I mean, it's just super fitting.
Still a popular costume.
Yeah,
I see.
Very popular.
I still see them pop up from time to time. Being my wife and I have 2 kids, that's kind of how I wanted our kids at least do Ghostbusters one time for Halloween, but my son likes Ghostbusters. I showed him the movie during the pandemic when I was going through kind of like the movies I grew up as a kid, trying to get him to watch. Like, I introduced him to Back to the Future, which he thought was okay. I fell asleep during Raiders of the Lost Ark, which almost got him disowned. But this one he actually seemed to really like. So when was he was a 10 during that time. When was the first time you were introduced to this movie?
Oh, man. I was probably his age or younger.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I think it was on VHS, and not just any VHS. One of those recordable VHSs that you would copy the movies from Blockbuster with.
Oh, you're one of them people too.
Yeah.
I never did it.
I think that's when I was introduced.
I never did it. A friend of mine, Jeff, who I've mentioned here on the show many times, that's pretty much all his mom did. She would go rent movies, and they would basically watch them for the sole purpose to record them.
Yeah.
So you could borrow pretty much any movie imaginable from his collection. It was really just a matter of whether they could find it or not.
Yeah, he probably had a whole Blockbuster library.
Yeah, well, when you lived in my neck of the woods, we weren't really Blockbuster people. There was a couple local mom and pop chains. closer to our neighborhood, so we always visited them. It's not until after they shut down with that we visited the big blue evil empire known as Blockbuster.
Yeah, that's true. I usually was at the mom and pop places, but after Hollywood Video came to town, I know that at least I think it was my dad or my mom decided to start going there because they offered a huge discount if you cut up your Blockbuster card in front of them.
Yep, that's why I started going there too. And plus, they seem to like, at least the one that I went to a lot, they didn't really give a shit if you never brought the movies back. Maybe that's why they end up going out of business, but they didn't really seem to care. But man, if you did not bring a video game back in a timely manner, they were fucking harassing the shit out of you.
Oh yeah, video games are expensive.
Yeah. I know for me, like first time I watched this movie was, I think I was maybe 6 or 7. Like I explained last week, friends of mine used to invite me and my mom and my brother over to watch movies a lot as a kid. And that's one of the ones that they introduced us to because I had never seen it. I had heard of Ghostbusters, and I actually think I seen Ghostbusters 2 before 1 because I know there was a couple movies where I seen the sequels before I seen the original. But no, I think I seen Ghostbusters right shortly before the sequel came out. Which thoughts on that sequel? Good, bad?
Thoughts on the sequel? Are you talking about the 2016 sequel?
No, I consider that kind of a reboot.
Okay.
The 1989 one.
1980. I liked it. It wasn't as good as the first one, and I think a lot of people kind of were on that train, but I think it was because it really laid into the campiness of the ghosts, especially that whole courtroom scene. Man, that was super campy and cheesy. Mm-hmm. But I really liked the premise. It was different than the first one, which a lot of sequels can't do. A lot of sequels nowadays, they'll try and recapture what made the first one great. This one tried to go in a different direction, and I think that was a good move.
I was during the research for the original, I had seen Bill Murray was quite pissed off at Columbia Pictures because he felt that this, like the eventual shooting script for Ghostbusters 2 isn't what he signed up for.
Yeah.
And he was kind of ticked off by that.
Yeah, I could see that. He seems like kind of a prima donna when it comes to movies, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, yeah, he seems to be a bit cantankerous. So,
yeah.
Speaking of research, when I was doing this, 1984, I think it's 84 kind of lays claim to my fact or my theory that the 1980s, I think, were probably the best decade for movies.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and it's not a popular opinion from our last podcast when we did that with with Cole from the Knights of Degradation. He kind of said that The Thing was his favorite 1980s movie, and he didn't like E.T.
He didn't like Back to the Future either. I will not tolerate Back to the Future slander on this program.
The 80s were a golden era for movies for me, for sure.
Yeah, I was just going through like the year, and I personally think that 1989 was probably the best year in the 80s, simply because of all the shit that came out. That's one of my favorite movie years of all time. Simply because like two of my favorite movies of all time, Batman and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade came out that year. 82 obviously was a banger year. We went over that last week in the Thing episode, which you can listen to on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get podcasts. Cheap plug of the show. But not a lot of people talk about 1984. Just real quick, running off of some of the more popular movies that came out that year. Beverly Hills Cop. Ghostbusters, obviously. Gremlins, which we have also done on this show. You can listen to as well. We did The Karate Kid. That also came out in 1984. Police Academy, Romancing the Stone, This is Spinal Tap, and a little sci-fi classic known as The Terminator.
Yep.
Just some of the movies that came out in 84.
Man, Romancing the Stone. I don't remember the last time I saw that, but that was a good one.
That's a fucking banger of a movie, and maybe we will revisit that for this show at some point.
Okay, I'll be down for that.
But it also, I read a story. It was on NPR's website when I was looking up stuff for this movie. And they came up with an interesting theory that 1984 was the year that Hollywood started to build what Hollywood is known for now, which is basically franchise building. Every single one of those movies, except for Spinal Tap that I mentioned, have either been rebooted, have sequels made, or some kind of reimagining of it. Beverly Hills Cop, there was 2 more movies. There's apparently, I think there's a new one in production or in pre-production at some point. Plus, they did a failed television show pilot with Brandon Jackson from Tropic Thunder. Gremlins got a sequel.
Yeah.
Indiana Jones, of course, they've done, 4 sequels to that. The Karate Kid's got, 4 sequels, a reboot, and then a television show.
Yep.
Police Academy, they made like fucking 30 of them?
Somewhere around
I mean,
there.
I know they made, I lost track at 6.
There's too many. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, Romancing the Stone, they have a sequel to that. And then Terminator, they've done 4 or 5 sequels to that too.
A lot of sequels. A lot of franchises.
Yeah. And then Ghostbusters, of course, they've done a sequel. They done a reboot. Well, actually, would you consider Afterlife a reboot too?
No, I think it was I mean it
Kind of
technically is rebooting, but it's a sequel for sure.
A reboot sequel, yeah.
It's taking place after the events that like the 2016 one pretends like the first one didn't happen, and then Afterlife is kind of after the events of 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I thought it was an interesting theory that after that you started seeing like all these franchises getting built shortly thereafter. Because I mean, like 85 had Back to the Future, and of course into the 90s we got or into the later 80s we got Lethal Weapon did 4, Batman of course, and then we're off after that.
Die Hard.
Yeah, Die Hard. Yeah, we're into it after that. So I thought it was an interesting theory. You can check it out. The story was, I don't want to go too deep into it, but yeah, the story was on NPR's website. It was called 1984, the year we unwittingly stopped watching movies and started watching franchises.
Yep.
So yeah, it just kind of goes into depth about like some of the stuff that came out. Oh yeah, Star Trek, The Search for Spock. That was the 3rd Star Trek movie, and they did a shit ton of those too. So,
well, The Search for Spock wasn't that great.
No, those were always movies that like the even numbered ones were good, the odd numbered ones were either meh or, in the case of 5, atrocious. But, well, you want to get into these categories? I'm kind of chomping at the bit here because there was a ton of meat on the bone for about Ghostbusters, and like
for sure.
I only put it 5 or 6 little fun facts and other things about this, but man, there's a ton of stuff to dig into. If you're interested, just Google Ghostbusters. Tons of stuff to dig into. The Tale of the Tape. This was released on June the 8th, 1984, the same day as Gremlins.
Yeah. Oh wow, the same day.
Yeah, I mean, as cool as the Barbenheimer phenomenon was from this summer, because it was cool to see like people excited for movies. I mean, that kind of pales in comparison to Gremlins and Ghostbusters the same day. I mean, we don't know if Oppenheimer and Barbie are going to be like, we revisit those 30 years down the road as like iconic franchise or movies like we do Gremlins and Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember during the hype for all that, people were saying like Like they had never seen a phenomenon like that before, and like there wasn't a time when two big movies came out at the same time. Like I've known for years that Ghostbusters and Gremlins came out the same day. I mean, that's kind of
I didn't even know.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I stumped producer Adam. I'm gonna take
that's a cool. Yeah,
I'm gonna take my victory lap around the block, so I'll be back in a minute.
Okay. Well, see, you know a little bit more about movies than I do, I think. In my head, anyways.
That gives me a great idea for an episode. We will get a third party to just ask us questions, and it'll be, like kind of a game show.
Trivia night. Yeah, I like it.
I seen ads on Facebook regarding a traveling Price is Right show. And I don't know if you remember Todd Newton. He used to do like stuff on E all the time, and he done like a few game shows.
Yeah.
Time has not been kind to Todd Newton. I'm sure he's still a cool dude, but I bet we could get him to host it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Somebody, or at least like a C level celebrity or something like that. Like like Nick Swartzen, or the guy that played the lead in Grandma's Boy, Alan Covert.
Yeah,
we get him. This movie was released on June 8th, 1984. This stars Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, Sigourney Weaver, Rick Moranis, Ernie Hudson, and Annie Potts. Directed by the incomparable Ivan Reitman. The Rotten Tomatoes score for this one is 95% from critics and an 88% audience score. This movie made $295.2 million on a $30 million budget, which I do believe this was the number one movie at the box office in 1984 too. And adjusted for inflation, the North American gross is $667 million, making it the 37th highest grossing movie of all time. This was nominated for 2 Academy Awards, including Best Original Song by Ray Parker Jr., Ghostbusters, which you heard a little bit here at the opening, and Best Visual Effects. This was selected for preservation by the Library of Congress in the National Film Registry, and you can watch this one on the Cock.
The Cock.
So,
it's on the Cock.
So after you watch Five Nights at Freddy's, you can just turn it into a Five Nights at Freddy's and a Ghostbusters double feature.
Yep.
Pretty good for Halloween night. I'd say it's a. I haven't seen Five Nights at Freddy's yet, but it sounds like a pretty good combination. I've heard some good about that movie. So.
Yeah.
And that brings us into the Did You Know portion of the show. This is like some fun facts, little tidbits about the behind-the-scenes workings of the movie. This one I did not know about until I was doing the research the other day, that comedian John Belushi has a few different ties to this movie. During the writing process, Dan Aykroyd wrote the Peter Venkman role with Belushi in mind. And as a matter of fact, Aykroyd was writing a line for Belushi when he got a phone call from the producer of the movie. I think his name's Bernie Brillstein. That John Belushi had died.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember seeing a behind the scenes about that.
Yeah.
It goes into one of my facts too about how they got him replaced, but yeah, we're on yours though. So
yeah, I got a take on that here later on too. Also, Slimer, the ghost which gained a ton of popularity on the Real Ghostbusters cartoon program, which we didn't even mention that they did a Ghostbusters cartoon as well, which I think that was just as popular as the movie for at least a year.
I remember that all the time.
Yeah, the Slimer, like how Slimer loves food, the way he eats food, that's inspired by Belushi's character Bluto from National Lampoon's Animal House.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, so I thought that was kind of cool. The Winston Zedmore role, which is played by Ernie Hudson, was supposed to be a much bigger role. And as a matter of fact, Eddie Murphy was supposed to play Winston, but when Eddie turned the movie role down, they decided to par Winston's role back, and they expanded the Peter Venkman role, which, of course, went on to be played by Bill Murray. I thought that was kind of an interesting fact, too. It kind of makes me wonder what kind of movie this would have been with Belushi and Eddie Murphy instead of Bill Murray and Ernie Hudson. But like I said, I'm saving it. I got a take on that. So stay tuned for that. Now, this next one I thought was like incredibly cool. This movie was pitched to Columbia, filmed and released within 1 calendar year, which never fucking happens. So I imagine it was probably a very tight shoot. Ivan Reitman and Harold Ramis went into Columbia with a meeting with essentially a 40-page treatment written by Dan Aykroyd, and they were given the green light, but they were given a set release date of the June 8th, 1984, so they had to get all that done within a year.
That's crazy, especially with one of the facts that I have. That's ridiculous. Wow.
John Candy was offered the role of Louis Tully, who's played in the movie by Rick Moranis, but he turned it down after he couldn't figure out how he wanted to play the role. Just some of the stuff I read, he was thinking about making the character German and talked with a thick German accent, which he just didn't really think worked well, so he passed on it. But I think Rick Moranis was a much better choice.
Oh, for sure. I like the nerdy kind of awkward aspect of his character.
To keep interest in the movie going, the studio ran a TV ad with the Ghostbusters TV commercial, which you see in the movie, but they changed the 555 number with a 1-800 number that people could actually call. And if you called it, people were greeted with a voicemail message from Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd telling them that they were out. It says, "Hi, we're out catching ghosts right now." And I guess this got over 1,000 calls a day for 24 hours straight for several weeks.
That's some good marketing.
It kind of reminds me back when the latest Scream came out, you could text, or no, you could go to their website and you could type in a number, and then you would get a call from Ghostface.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, when my son got his cell phone, I tried to get him to answer the phone, but he didn't recognize the number, so he never answered the phone.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, I eventually had to get him like, "Hey, man, your phone keeps ringing. Just answer it, see who it is." And then this movie was the highest grossing movie of all time until Home Alone's release in 1990.
Yeah, see, that one I knew, but I mean, this was a different era too.
The last one I got is on the director's commentary. Ivan Reitman said Dan Aykroyd's first script has the story taking place in the future, and there were Ghostbusters everywhere, kind of like firefighters and like emergency workers. But I guess the budget for that kind of movie would have been well over $300 million in 1984, keep in mind. So they brought in Harold Ramis to redo the script.
I kind of like the setting it's in.
A futuristic. You don't see a lot of,
that's just weird.
That's a big nod dog for me and Randy Jackson. What do you got for us, man?
So I've only got a couple of facts to add to yours. The ones that you had were some of the ones that I came across, but I got a couple of good ones, especially with the John Belushi casting. So when they couldn't cast him and they had to go with Bill Murray, they basically said, "Oh yeah, we'll get Bill. He's good." And then everybody on production was really scared because they hadn't heard from him until the day of the first shoot. He showed up, and they were like just sweating constantly because they didn't think he was going to show up. Nobody had heard from him. Nobody had heard if he was going to take the role. Nobody had heard from his agent, and just day one shooting, he was there. But, Dan Aykroyd, being the kind of guy he is, he kept saying, "No, he'll be here. He'll be here. It's fine." and that kind of makes me think that he's a little bit of a prima donna because he also, he's very picky about what kind of movie he does. With Garfield being one of his biggest faux pas, but yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, actually, if I recall right, he agreed to do this movie if Columbia funded a pet project of his called The Razor's Edge.
Mm-hmm.
And they both of those movies came out in 1984, so that's why that's how they were able to get Bill Murray, because Bill Murray was kind of because I think this was coming off of Stripes, which was a huge hit the year before. So like Bill Murray was coming up with a lot of steam too. So, and plus he's a Saturday Night Live alum, and man, that's hard to believe that like Aykroyd and Bill Murray. Could you imagine like what kind of movie this would have been if they would have had Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Eddie Murphy in the same movie? Like three of arguably the biggest Saturday Night Live stars of all time.
Yeah, that would have been crazy. I like the cast that they have. I don't think I would recast Ernie Hudson, but my second fact that you did not have, they actually had to film each scene twice wherever the name Ghostbusters came up, because Ghostbusters was copyrighted. It was I believe it was a British film. The studio had to buy the rights to Ghostbusters, and it was coming right down to the wire because of the tight schedule. I didn't know how tight the movie schedule was, but that's crazy that they had to do that and secure the rights to Ghostbusters. They filmed every scene twice with two different logos, one being Ghost Breakers, which doesn't sound as cool. But on the day that they shot the scene with everybody shouting Ghostbusters, the scene where it's Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters, the director got on the phone with the studio, and it was just a payphone, and he held the phone up to the crowd shouting Ghostbusters, and they got back on the phone, and he said, "See, we have to get it now, so get those rights," and then he hung up the phone. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Ghost Breakers is a fucking horrible name. That sounds like there's a studio. I don't know if they still do it or not, but there's a studio that if there's like a big movie that comes out, like I'll just use Transformers because I remember exactly what this company called them. But they would make a similar movie with like really, really cheap special effects, and all they would do is they would try to sell people. It's almost like, hey, if you see this at the video store, if you just kind of glance at it, like, the new Transformers, you pick it up, and then once you get home, you've paid for it already, you realize this is definitely not fucking Transformers, but it was called Transmorphers. And it was like really cheap special effects. It sounds like it's one of those movies.
Yeah. It's the off-brand, like the Wish version of Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
We've got Ghostbusters at home.
Yeah, Ghost Breakers is like the GoBots to the Transformers.
Yeah. They use they use vacuum cleaners instead of proton packs.
Yeah. I can imagine like them being on that studio, like, that's gonna be a no from us, lads.
My last fact that you didn't have, and I'm saying that because I don't have as many facts because you brushed on a few of them, which is okay. We're allowed to have the same thoughts. But Dan Aykroyd was sort of the paranormal expert on the movie. Of course, he wrote it, but his family was into the occult and the paranormal before this, and it was one of his hobbies. And so, if something didn't seem right, or if something wasn't, I guess, up to what is a paranormal, like, I don't know. You know how like they have scientists on movies with science in them. This is kind of like the parascience or whatever. He made sure they followed all the rules, I guess. So, and he made sure he wrote what he believed was correct in the script as well.
Well, I just looked it up when you said that because I remember vaguely him having a show where he was discussing ghosts, and it was called Dan Aykroyd's Out There. It was in 2002, and it ran on, come on, IMDb, it was on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like,
that would have been cool. I would have listened to Dan Aykroyd talk about ghosts.
Yeah, it's in 2002, the Sci-Fi Channel, later renamed to Sci-Fi. Why fucking say that, IMDb? It makes no sense. People know what I'm talking about. Greenlit, the Hollywood actor and UFO enthusiast Dan Aykroyd's talk show about the paranormal. Although dozens of episodes were filmed, the show got canceled and never aired.
Oh, that sucks.
And then I guess he narrates a show on Travel Channel called Hotel Paranormal.
Yep.
Which I was wondering what happened to Dan Aykroyd. I hadn't really seen him in much in a long time. Last thing I really remember him in was Gross Point Blank. That was 96.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good movie, though, too.
Yeah. He was in Ghostbusters Afterlife for a couple of scenes.
Yeah, that was a cameo. The only one really steadily working is Ernie Hudson. That guy's in fucking everything.
Yeah.
But good stuff, man. I had seen a little bit about the Aykroyd stuff being into the paranormal, but I didn't know it went kind of that deep.
Yeah. I think his grandfather was a psychic or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't quote me on that. I don't remember, but yeah, that's why he got into it for sure.
Well, you're being recorded right now, so you technically are quoted on it.
I am quoted, but I said don't quote me on it, and that was also recorded, so I'm perpetually not being quoted.
Oh, that's true. And you can always edit this out.
That's true.
All right, the Martin Scorsese This Is Cinema Award for the best scene in the movie. I'll let you lead off. What do you got as your favorite scene of the movie?
Well, my favorite scene of the movie has got to be, and everybody says it's the end scene, which is good. That's fine. My favorite scene is the scene in the hotel with Slimer, ending up in the banquet hall where the kids, I think it's a bar mitzvah is happening in there. They destroy everything. And I'm like, oh man, poor kid. He's going to go in there and everything's going to be on fire. Love that scene. It's so good. And it has some of the most iconic lines, like, I got slimed,
Mm-hmm.
And don't cross the streams. And I just love that scene. It's so fun. And it's their first foray into trying to catch a ghost, which is really fun to watch too.
Yeah. I know for me, like, I'll get to mine in a minute. Honorable mention. I do like the beginning where you get introduced to the ghost. Ray Finkel's mom is the librarian in that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then that was pretty cool. Mine's, though, it's from the time the mayor of New York gives him the okay to go get, like, in this till the end. You got the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man in that, which people that have never even seen this movie, which I don't know many people that do, but I'll use my son as an example. He had never seen the movie until we watched it a couple of years ago, but he knew who the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man was.
Right. Iconic.
Yeah. That's just my favorite scene. And plus, I really like how they got treated like rock stars.
Oh, yeah.
They got treated like rock stars when they were coming to the apartment complex, which I forgot to include this too, but Gozer was actually they're rumored to be they offered it to Paul Rubens.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. I can see that.
Yeah, I think the battle at the end's a little anticlimactic because basically, like, they just cross the streams and then boom, it's over.
Yeah.
But I think everything. For me, leading everything like up to the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man's awesome.
Yeah. You can't really do a lot of action scenes with a giant proton pack on your back, though. Too. You can't like jump or
that's true.
dodge or roll.
I'm actually surprised though that they didn't make those a little bit more lightweight Because like in every movie,
Yeah.
like when they have like equipment, it's like they always make like a tighter version of it. Like Batman as an example. Batman always had like all his stuff, but Batman's stuff was also like, oh well, let's improve it, let's make it smaller. Or even in the Dark Knight, he made his suit not quite as bulky, he made it more compact.
Yeah.
Thanks to the great Lucius Fox.
And I think they did that really well in Ghostbusters Afterlife with the car, because I do remember seeing some behind the scenes stuff where the director, who I believe is Ivan Reitman's son,
Yeah, it's Jason Reitman.
He said that Ghostbusters usually fight shoulder to shoulder, and it's always slow and methodical, but they wanted to kick it into high gear and have like a cool action scene. So what better way to do that than with the Ecto one? And I think that was pretty cool. But they did stuff that they probably couldn't do in the 1980s too, with scenes like that. So
yeah. But I don't know. Like I think both are really cool scenes. I also like the scene that you mentioned too with the bar mitzvah. That was kind of a cool scene too. But I don't know. Just my favorite is like everything leading up to. Plus, we'll get into him in a minute. But Walter Peck kind of gets like basically he gets his fuck off. We're gonna do it anyways. Which we'll get into a little bit of Bill Atherton here in a minute. But yeah, I don't know. I just like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man sequence.
I like it too, and I do want to throw an honorable mention out before we decide, but I like the apartment scenes too, like with Zool in the fridge and the eggs cooking on the counter. I think that's a really cool effect, especially being a practical effect.
I also, when you talk about the apartment, when they were at Lewis's party.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and the dog is on the bed.
That scene cracks me up because like he's basically like the nerdiest party host of all time, and he's like basically saying like, "Oh, these aren't even friends of mine; they're just clients, so I can do this as a tax write-off."
Yeah, and I like how when the dog breaks down the door and chases him out, nobody cares. Like nobody chases after him. They just watch him leave and run down the hallway and then run out of the apartment building. They're all still in the apartment.
Yeah. Well, he got all that fish on sale. What was it, fresh salmon?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
and the generic pills.
Hey, I'm not gonna hate on that because I tell you what, like ibuprofen, as expensive as it is, like I'm not gonna buy fucking Advil. I'm just gonna buy the Walmart Equate version. It does the same thing.
It does. He's really smart with that.
The Andy I think we got a winner here for the best line of the movie. I think we're gonna call this category. This is the working title. We'll let the viewers and listeners decide if this is gonna stick. But the Andy Dufresne Get Busy Living or Get Busy Dying award for the best or most quotable line of the movie. I will share mine because the only reason I chose this one, it's kind of an iconic line from the movie. Plus, I got a very funny story to go along with it. But my choice is "Don't Cross the Streams."
I like that.
It seems to be like that one's kind of like got thrown into the pop culture lexicon for a little while. I remember, I'm trying to think of what year this was. It might have been like 95 or 96. There was a drive-in movie theater, probably about 20 minutes from my house. And it had one of those, when you went to the men's room, it had one of those urinals, but it wasn't like the standalone urinals. It's basically just pissed into the trough.
Yeah.
And I went in there to go to the bathroom, and some guy who's probably in his mid-40s, just had a big beer gut, says to me, "Don't cross the streams," when he's pissing like on the other side of that trough. And I didn't know how to react. I'm just like, dude, come on, man. Like, I have an unwritten rule: don't talk to me in the bathroom. Just
Yeah,
don't.
that's the whole thing is you can't like you have to pick the urinal that's one away from the other guy if there's like multiple urinals. You can't you have to pick the furthest one away from the door. There's like unwritten rules of the public restrooms that you have to have.
Yeah, I don't like going next to somebody anyways. I'm always afraid that someone's going to piss on my shoe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because not everybody out there is, a sharpshooter when it comes to going to the bathroom.
A lot of people aren't from all the public restrooms I've been in. There's far too many to count.
Yeah, it's like, sometimes there's like a giant, it's like a fucking lake. I'm like, dude, like, what are you doing?
It's like 5 feet away from the actual bowl. It's just, what were you thinking? You need to get up closer? It's not like, a literal pissing contest. You just get it in there.
That's what I think too, man. It's not like this is not like trick shot urinating on ESPN2. It's like, dude, like, have some fucking common decency for people. Like, no one wants to step into a fucking, like, a river of piss when they go to the bathroom. But yeah, this guy, though, he's just so fucking proud of himself. That, like, don't cross the streams.
Is he going to wave it back and forth?
I don't know. I was afraid of. I just wanted to hurry up and get done at that point. Like, it's like, come on, just get this over with. Like, scrub my hands and go. But I think, don't cross the streams. And it also comes back into play later on in the movie, too, because then they have to be able to defeat Gozer. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I would say who you're going to call, but I don't believe they say it in the entire movie.
they don't.
It's the song, yeah.
Yeah, because I thought that, too. I'm like, oh, this is easy. It's like, who you going to call? It's like iconic. It's still a very well-known pop culture reference. But then, like, nope, it's just in the song.
Yep. They say it in the second one when they use the song, but not in the first one.
Yeah, we ain't talking about part 2, though.
Yeah. I kind of like the raining cats and dogs, mass hysteria, that sort of thing. That whole exchange. I can't pick one singular line from that though, and I also like the Twinkie discussion as well. It's one big Twinkie. But yeah, it's don't cross the streams. It's got to be.
I did want to mention where they. I forget the actual line, but he says something about Walter Peck not having a dick.
Oh yeah, he's like he refers to him as Dickless here.
Uh-huh. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I've seen the second one. Is that actress the mayor in part 2?
Yeah, he's the mayor.
He's doing a lot of good for the city of New York. Got a second term and everything.
Right. I mean, he's the one that let the Ghostbusters save New York, so of course they're going to reelect him. Oh, I remember the line. It's Nicholas here, and then later on he's like, "Is this true?" And then it's like, "Yes, it's true. This man has no dick." That's what it was.
Yep, that's it. That's got an honorable mention for me. Like, if it wasn't "Don't Cross the Streams," then it would be that one for sure.
Yeah.
I did decide we will keep the Paul Walker "I Said Forget About It" award, but we're gonna use that as a unintentionally hilarious or bad line of the movie, which doesn't really qualify here. There's nothing here that's like cringeworthy or like, oh man, I can't believe they said that. I mean, this is a comedy for crying out loud, so I mean, it's kind of, if you're laughing, it's doing its job.
Right. Every word that's written is written to make you laugh, anyways. So.
But we'll save that category for like when we do like a Chuck Norris movie or something.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that we can find some.
The McLovin Award for the best supporting or scene stealing performance. Who do you guys your nominee?
I'm gonna say Annie Potts.
Oh, okay.
I just like her. Yeah, she's not in the movie enough to be a lead in this one, anyways. And I like her character. She adds to the Ghostbusters mythos.
Yeah,
I like her as a secretary.
Yeah,
She's spunky.
I've always kind of likened her as like the fifth Ghostbuster.
Yeah.
That's a good call. However, for me, as much as I do like Annie Potts in this one, my nominee is going to be, and since we are a movie podcast, we can refer to him as Bill, but I'm going with William Atherton as Walter Peck.
Okay. Nicholas.
Yeah, exactly. And I named him as my nominee simply because like he's kind of like this actor is essentially he's known for being like two just gigantic movie assholes. And I think without Atherton's Walter Peck doing the crawling, there's no way that Dick Thornburg can run in Die Hard.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And yeah, he kind of said, and and from what I've seen, he has a pretty lengthy like career in film and television, but he's like Paul Gleason, the principal in the Breakfast Club. Iconic movie assholes. Like that's all they're going to be ever known for.
They play assholes really well.
Yeah, just slimy human beings.
Both really popular assholes in the 80s.
Yep. Well, yeah, I mean, Atherton had two.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Is he? Well, we'll save it for later on. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I only remember him from Ghostbusters, Die Hard, and Die Hard 2. Those are the only three movies I remember him in.
Same. I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Yeah. And I'm sure he's been in a bunch of stuff. But
I would be willing to give it to him just because, he's a good person to hate. He makes you hate him really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all right. Bill Atherton. Oh, man, I hate saying this, but is he still alive?
I don't know.
Well, let me just look it up here real quick. I hate doing this because I feel like a.
Oh yeah, no, you're good.
Well, I think it's just the way I brought it up. Like, is he dead? No, still alive, still kicking.
Okay.
According to Wikipedia, William Atherton, born July 30th, 1947, is an American actor. Okay, cool. He had starring roles in The Sugarland Express, Day of the Locusts, The Hindenburg, and Looking for Mr. Goodbar, but is perhaps most recognized for his roles in Ghostbusters and Die Hard. Boom, there you go. Because if Wikipedia says that that's what he's known for, then it's got to be fucking true.
So, in looking up his film history on IMDb, I ran across.
Oh shit, he's in Real Genius too.
Oh, okay.
I forgot all about him being in Real Genius, which is an awesome movie that we have to do at some point too.
Again, a movie from the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
In looking at this filmography, he's in Planet Coaster Console Edition, reprising his role as Walter Peck, because they had a Ghostbusters pack add-on, which is awesome. If Walter Peck is included in that, and he's voiced by the correct actor, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm just like going down his IMDb. He was in the Pelican Brief. I've seen the Pelican Brief once. He's in Crow Salvation. He's in The Last Samurai. All right.
He's in the Ghostbusters video game as Walter Peck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I remember they did get all of the voice actors back together for the Ghostbusters video game.
Is that any good? I never played it.
It's an excellent video game. Yeah, they actually remastered it for the newer consoles just recently, like maybe a couple of years ago. Very, very good pickup. It's only about $20. It was, of course, $59.99 when it first came out on Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, but It's only a $20 pickup on the new stuff, and it's remastered, and it's really funny. It follows the events of the first film kind of loosely, gives it a little bit of a cool video game feel.
You know, that was one of those games that I bought. I was really bad when I was like really into gaming. I would buy games and I would never play them. They would just sit on my shelf. I think it was just the fact I like to spend money.
Yeah,
It's funny how
you're
I've
describing
evolved.
me right now.
I've evolved from being like someone that just spent money with reckless abandon. I'd buy shit and it would just sit there and collect dust to where I'm like, I don't buy shit. Like I buy like experiences now. Like I'll buy tickets to concerts or stuff like that. So I buy more expensive shit, but I get to do that. It doesn't sit on a shelf. I don't know. I kind of want to play that Ghostbusters game.
I just spent $130 on video games today.
Oh, wow. Okay. I spent, I'm going trick-or-treating, which in our neck of the woods is going to be after this episode comes out. But I was going to, a couple of things popped in mind, but I decided I was going to walk around with my kids dressed as John Cena. Now, anybody that knows what I look like knows that, yeah, that's a stretch. But I ended up spending $50 on a John Cena t-shirt, a hat, and just because if I hit over $50, I got a 25% off coupon code. I bought myself a Stone Cold Steve Austin shirt too.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
But enough of the spending money with reckless abandon. So we're giving it to Bill Atherton.
Yep.
You know, he might be one of those actors. We've always talked about mailing this award. Like kind of like when you're in elementary school, like Student of the Week award. I bet he would appreciate that if we did that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because I mean,
can we inscribe it to Dickless?
Let's not go that far. We don't know him well enough yet. I don't want to get a nasty gram back from Dick Thornburg because I don't want him camped out in front of my house.
That's true. That's true.
We'll skip the Welcome to Dumpsville Population U award because there's like I can't really think of anybody I would recast.
No, not even close.
Unsolved Mysteries of the movie. I think the sequel does a pretty good job of answering any questions. You kind of wonder what happens to them after the events of the first movie. And of course, you know, the second one, they're kind of financially struggling for a while until Vigo the Carpathian decides to wreak havoc through New York City. And then like later on, we find out in Afterlife that Egon has passed away. And then, you know,
looking to stop the second coming of Gozer. Or the third coming of Gozer. Well, whatever coming it is, stop it.
I think that he's visited Earth a few times.
Right. I think that one of the questions that I have is kind of like the Ghostbusters series overall is how does the world take ghosts being real as like a normal thing, because they don't really delve into that. They sort of in Afterlife, like Paul Rudd's character is like, I really like the Ghostbusters and paranormal. It's super cool, but a lot of people seem like they don't believe in it still. Mm-hmm. And like the videos on YouTube are just, videos on YouTube.
Oh, like crazy people.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
So, because do they believe in ghosts? Do they think the events of the New York hauntings were real, or?
I would think that there's enough documented evidence just from fucking Ghostbusters in 1984. No one caught a picture of a giant marshmallow wreaking havoc in New York City.
Or the Statue of Liberty getting up off of her plinth and walking through the town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's a giant pink river of ooze running through the city. No
Yeah.
one, not a single documented like picture or, well, phones weren't, I mean, cameras, I mean, I don't see anybody walking around with a camera.
Yeah.
Like, no news organization got hold of that. I don't know. That's a good question, though. Because it's like,
Yeah.
do people, like, just accept it as a thing? Like, oh, like, you know, ghosts are real, kind of like, you know, the flu.
Yeah.
Or do they just talk about it being crazy people? I think that they do, but it's just one of those things where it's like commonplace now. It's like, oh, you know, we know there's ghosts out there. I'm not going to stop living my life.
Right. I think maybe there are certain people that might not think that it's real, you know, those conspiracy theorists. And maybe like Egon's family was like that because they hated that he left to, you know, go save them from ghosts. So they were kind of biased towards this stuff sucks, you know. So
Yeah. We just kind of had an indirect COVID conversation, except we framed it under ghost. I was just like, thinking like, this is like really taking a 2020 turn for a minute.
is there some hidden subtext in the Ghostbusters afterlife?
Yeah.
I don't know.
We're not getting into that stuff, boys
Right.
and ghouls. Don't even bring it up. I will completely ignore you. The most 1984 moment of the movie. What do you got? Because I think I got a pretty good one.
Oh, the most 1984 moment. Oh, that's hard. Probably
I think the
their
camcorder.
office is just. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well,
go
the
ahead.
camcorder's too easy, so I don't have that one.
Okay. Their office is super 1980s. Like everything is beige. Everything is wood paneled. That's super 80s.
Mm.
You got the brown carpet.
Yeah, very stock.
Yeah.
I have. You don't see this anymore. Ray and just ripping fucking heaters in the office.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you don't see that.
Was,
Yeah, don't see that anymore.
I really enjoy Dan Aykroyd's ability to dangle that cigarette off of his lip.
Yeah, it's like you're supposed to be a scientist, but you could easily put in a transmission in like an 82 Buick.
Yeah.
Because mechanics are the only people, or like people that work with their hands, are the only people that can master that cigarette where the ash gets to be about like 4 or 5 inches long.
Yeah. And of course, he's dangling it over open engine compartment with several flammable fumes. But, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. You just gave me another category for the Hall of Fame section, too. All right. We still have not found a sponsor for this next category yet. We have reached out to Applebee's. We've reached out to Waffle House, Golden Corral. No, we didn't do Golden Corral yet. I think we did Cracker Barrel. So at least Track. Somebody just reach out to us.
McDonald's or Burger King, we're not picky. We'll do toy deals.
Oh, yeah. Oh, dude, how awesome would that be? The Couch Brotato Happy Meal.
That would be awesome.
Me and you, and then like I don't know, like since Lucas is an OG host, like Lucas could easily be like a toy in there too.
He's got he's the golden rare one that you get, like he's because we're gonna be blind bags or something.
He's the variant.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that will have us in different outfits, and then like just imagine the excitement in some kid's eyes when we're like, "Mom, I got a Lucas." And then, like, you know, later, 20 years down the road, like, McDonald's Happy Meal toy, that'll be, like, in some random toy store, and it's worth, like, $600. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
we're in a garage sale pile for, like, a nickel.
Yeah, that's how it is. Like you go into like one of those consignment shops and you see the giant basket full of the toys that are still in the McDonald's bags.
Yeah, we're like the toys like in a doctor's office, like kids can go play with while they're waiting. Like, mommy, who's this? All right, well, yeah, Applebee's, Waffle House still have not reached out to us yet. Please do so. We will make the best use of your brand. But today, I don't know. Let's go with McDonald's. The McDonald's hot off the skillet take for the hottest take regarding this movie. For me, earlier on in the did you know section, where we gave you some tidbits, some interesting fun facts, we did mention that John Belushi and Eddie Murphy were both considered for roles in this movie. John Belushi unfortunately passed away, and then Eddie Murphy turned down the role of Winston. I think this movie would suck with both of those guys in the roles. Not saying that they're bad performers, but I don't think this movie works with Eddie Murphy and John Belushi. The reason I say that is because they are such a dynamic presence. Like, they command the screen. And I think one of the reasons why this movie works so well is, like, obviously Bill Murray's the lead in this. And this was at a time when Dan Aykroyd was kind of a big name. But they also give enough room for Harold Ramis and, to a lesser extent, Ernie Hudson and his limited amount of screen time. To give them room to breathe, they all have their moments to shine. And they don't really take too much of that away from them. Even though, obviously, Bill Murray's the lead and he has most of the screen time. But Bill Murray has one of those presences in movies where he's not, like, overbearing to an extent. You know what I mean?
Right. I'd agree with that.
I don't know if that's a hot take since it never happened, but I just think...
I mean, it's a hot take because those are two really good comedians. Like, they're excellent comedians, and you'd think the movie would be good, but no. I would agree with you, though.
Yeah, I think it works well with who they had.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you have a McDonald's hot off the skillet hot take?
Sure. In talking about merchandising, I'm gonna go with out of everything that has been merchandised to kids, and even just the whole marketing of this movie, I think it is the best out of the movies from the 80s. Maybe Batman, but
yeah, Batman. I wasn't old enough to remember the hysteria and the just the phenomenon surrounding Ghostbusters, because this was like a big like pop culture event too. But the first one I remember very distinctly was Batman from '89. Yeah,
but see, you also had E.T. as well.
Yeah, see, like I was 4 when E.T. came out in theaters, so I don't even remember that.
They had like campaigns with Atari and Reese's Pieces, and
yeah, we know how that Atari one worked out for him.
But I would say that, in my opinion, Ghostbusters is the most prolific, I guess. Not necessarily the best one or the most successful. It's the most long lasting.
Oh, you talking about like franchise from the 80s?
Just merchandising, marketing, the presence in culture, I guess. I mean, Batman's always been a presence in culture, but like, it's surprising that a movie from the 80s still has kids dressing up like them for Halloween.
Yeah, I mean, I would say probably in terms of movie franchises from the 80s, I mean, it would have to be Ghostbusters and Batman is still kind of are somewhat relevant from this era.
Yeah, you don't have kids dressing up like E.T. Not anymore.
Yeah, and like I honestly, as much as this kind of sucks, like I don't think my kids would even take an interest in watching E.T. Like my son, out of all the movies I tried to show him that I loved as a kid during the pandemic, Ghostbusters was the only one that he actually enjoyed.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's a fun movie.
Mm-hmm. I will
I
say,
showed Madison this movie too, and I had to skip past the whole ghost blowy thing, but other than that, like
yeah,
she liked the movie.
yeah. I don't know, like, I don't know what it is about this movie that appeals to kids. Like, no matter like whether you're showing them this in like 85, 95, or 2022. It just, I don't know. I think it's just the fact that it's kind of like, it's meant to be like a spooky movie, but it doesn't scare the shit out of kids. And it's kind of like, there's a few things in there that would make kids laugh.
Yeah,
So
I think that whole dynamic is why Five Nights at Freddy's popular too. It's not necessarily like gory or adult. It's still scary though, and
yeah,
kids like that.
yeah. So it'd kind of be enough to like scare them in the moment, but they're not going to bed like thinking like, oh fuck, Gozer's gonna like pop out of mom and dad's room and like turn me into a stone dog. Or they're not gonna be worried sick about what happened to Louis Tully, you know?
Get chased down the street by a demon dog.
Right. I will say I will add an extra one to that. And it's not really a hot take. This should just be the fucking gospel that High C needs to make the Ecto Cooler drink available year round all the time, not bring it out of retirement like McDonald's does. Sorry, McDonald's, if you want to sponsor this, please forgive me for this. But like the McRib, the McDonald's brings the McRib back every few years. Yeah. And I think the Ecto Cooler got retired until the Ghostbusters Afterlife movie came out. And they brought it back for a limited time, and then they put it back in the vault. Just bring it out.
Yeah. I mean, every October. It doesn't even have to be all the time.
Yeah,
every October, I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, bring it out every Halloween. I mean, it's not going to take too much of the shine away from the orange. Everyone loves the orange. It's still going to fucking, like, It's going to sell like hotcakes. Just bring back Ecto Cooler for a little bit. At least for us 80s kids. You know what I mean?
Right. It'll sell.
Yeah. High C. Make it happen. If anyone that works at the fine company of High C, make it happen. Fuck, pair it with our hopefully soon to be sponsored McDonald's. Just make it available at McDonald's. They do the Cardi B. Awesome. They do the Cardi B meal. Just make fucking McDonald's bring back the buckets with McBoo and the other characters, like the Happy Meal buckets. You can get a special Ecto Cooler drink.
And a McRib.
And a McRib, yeah. Like an adult, like they did the adult Happy Meals. Just make it fucking the McRib, large fry, an Ecto Cooler, and put it in that pumpkin bucket that they give you out every Halloween.
Perfect.
Look at that.
See, McDonald's needs us.
Yeah, and we need McDonald's. So hopefully McDonald's decides to sponsor the Hot Off the Skillet take for the hottest take of the movie. Last category is obviously our Hall of Fame, where we come up with different original categories. And if there were a Couch Brotato Podcast Hall of Fame, would this particular category get inducted? I have mentioned in the last few episodes that I do have Apple Pay, do have PayPal, do have Venmo. If you want to make the Couch Brotato Podcast Hall of Fame a reality, we accept all forms of payment. Send them our way, and we will do our best to make the Couch Brotato Podcast Hall of Fame a real thing, a real building, where you can come and enjoy all kinds of movie pop culture references in a thick candy shell or whatever that is. All right.
Sprinkles.
Yeah. First, original songs for a movie. I'm going to say yes. Ray Parker's Ghostbusters song, still, what do the kids say? Still fucks. Awesome song. Listen to it no more than 15 minutes before I contacted you to do this. I was like, that song's still fucking cool.
It slaps hard, no cap.
Straight bussin', no cap. I think you and I sounded like as white as humanly possible saying that. You could tell we're fucking like middle-aged dads saying that. That'd be something if we said that in front of our kids and their friends, our kids would be embarrassed. Like, Dad, come on.
They'd have their head in their hands.
Yeah. But yeah, I think Ghostbusters has to be up there with Prince's Purple Rain,
Mm-hmm.
Power of Love by Huey Lewis for Back to the Future, which, another fun fact I did not know, producers contacted Huey Lewis to do music for Ghostbusters, but he turned them down because he was doing stuff for Back to the Future.
Yeah.
How fucking wild is that?
I remember reading that. That is crazy.
Yeah, and then like Kenny Loggins, Danger Zone. I'm sure there's really cool stuff from the 90s, but I don't care. I'm in an 80s mood tonight, and we're just going to run with the 80s stuff.
Yeah.
This is kind of a yes or no answer, or you have to pick one or the other. Obviously, if we had a wing devoted to movie assholes, we all know Grandpa Joe from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory will be there. Biff Tannen would be in there. But if we were inducting William Atherton into the movie asshole wing of the Hall of Fame, would he go in as Walter Peck or Dick Thornburg?
Oh, Walter Peck for sure.
Really? I say Dick Thornburg.
Yeah, I guess he's trying to exploit the kids in Die Hard.
It's a good question because Dick Thornburg is responsible for a catastrophic event that could just completely destroy mankind as we know it. He shuts the Ghostbusters power grid down, releases all these ghosts into the world, almost causes a catastrophic event. But on the other hand, Die Hard, he wants to get the first scoop. He goes to their house. He obviously bugs the maid, and then he finds out. And like I said, he exploits the kids. That's a pretty dickhead move when both parents are fighting for their lives in the Nakatomi Tower.
Yeah, I would say that. What's his name? Holly's coworker Ellis is a bigger dick in that movie, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so, he would split the Die Hard vote. Yeah, Ellis is a big movie asshole, too. And as a matter of fact, I think I hate Ellis more than I hate Dick Thornburg. And that's saying something, because Dick Thornburg fucking sucks in that movie.
Yeah, he does.
Okay, yeah. Then, Walter Peck would get in then. That would be William Atherton's, like, if, like the Baseball Hall of Fame, players always have, like, a cap of the team, one of the teams they played for, or the team that they're most known for. Yeah, his would be Ghostbusters, Walter Peck. And that's a good call. I'd never thought of that. Yeah, William Atherton goes in as Walter Peck. Ellis stealing some of his heat in Die Hard.
Yep. Trying to steal the woman and also steal the show.
Mm-hmm. Ghost movies.
Oh, for sure. Top 3 for me.
Top 3?
At least.
Only reason I put this on here is I was looking up ghost movies because I thought, this is a surefire candidate for sure. But there was some interesting.
What would you consider a ghost movie? What's the criteria?
Anything with paranormal.
Anything? So even if there was like a ghost for a second.
Well, I guess a ghost movie would have to be a paranormal being of some kind would have to be the main protagonist or antagonist of the movie, or a featured.
Okay.
So it can't be like, like, I don't know, like a cameo, like where I'm drawing a complete blank, but like if a ghost were to appear, like a celebrity ghost were to appear in a movie for like a second, like in a comedy.
Okay.
They use that shtick. Then no.
But no Star Wars either, because
it's a good example. You can't use like Obi-Wan Kenobi,
right?
So just a few examples of ghost movies: The Shining.
Okay. Yeah.
The Innocents. I've never heard of it. It's a 1961 movie. Sure, it's good because they have it number 2. Let's see. Poltergeist. Yeah, Poltergeist, definitely.
Yes.
The Haunting, not the one with Liam Neeson, but the one made in 1963. The
Liam
Changeling. That's a good movie. That's a fucking spooky movie.
Yeah.
They have Ghostbusters on here. The Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
Beetlejuice.
I'm so disappointed Ghost hasn't come up yet.
Oh yeah, Ghost. Yeah, this list is kind of strange. Like, yeah, Ghost was a fucking huge movie. They have Field of Dreams on here. I don't know if I'd consider that. I mean, a ghost, I guess, is part of a big aspect of the movie.
But yeah, I don't think I would count Field of Dreams as a ghost movie. I would count it more as a sports movie.
Yeah. The Others, that's a fucking good one too. I don't know if it would be iconic though. A Christmas Carol.
Yeah, that's a ghost movie.
Oh shit.
I would put it more in the realm of Christmas, but yeah, they got ghosts in there.
The Conjuring.
Yep. Paranormal Activity isn't on there yet either.
Yeah, Paranormal Activity. Yeah, Ghost is like 32 on this list. The Frighteners, that's a fucking awesome movie.
Yep.
But I don't think it makes the Hall of Fame, though.
I know it's not like a widely liked movie, but I really like 1408.
Yeah, that made the list too. Is in 42 on here. All right. But yeah, so if we're putting in 5, would Ghostbusters crack 5? I would say yeah.
Yeah, Ghostbusters. Yeah.
Because, I mean, it was the number one movie of 1984. It is still culturally relevant, maybe not quite on par as it was back in the 80s, but still has some pop culture weight.
Yeah, staying power.
Yeah, I'd say it would be A Christmas Carol simply because it's like an iconic Christmas story. It's been remade countless times. Even a real creepy Robert Zemeckis one. Yeah, I'd say it would have to be Ghostbusters, Poltergeist, obviously. That movie still creeps me out to this day. The Shining. Yep. Ghost, because Ghost was like huge. I think Ghost was the number one movie in 1990. Got Whoopi Goldberg an Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say The Sixth Sense simply because that's in one of the greatest movie years of all time. It's probably one of the most memorable movies from 99. So I would say those would be the 5.
I'm gonna agree with you.
Yeah.
Your list is very similar to mine. I might flip-flop a couple, but I'm just gonna agree with you because those are probably my picks as well.
Yeah. If you don't like the list, big whoop, fight me about it. But yeah, I'd say those would be that would be the inaugural class of ghost movies. But yeah, Ghostbusters definitely a Hall of Fame ghost movie. What about movie automobiles? Ecto 1 has to be on here.
Yeah, I remember as a kid, we had this before we had our basement finished. My parents had a section of it, like kind of roped off for playroom, and we had like the old McDonald's toys with the Fry Guys and Grimace, and we also had Ghostbusters, and I think they were the cartoony ones, but we had the Ecto 1, and the Ecto 1 was so cool, and it did the siren and everything, and like that's my first memory of like a cool car that I played with as a kid. My second would be Batman, but I got my Batmobiles like way after the fact when Batman Forever came out. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna have to say, yeah, Ecto 1 is definitely just out of pure nostalgia for me, anyways, in the Hall of Fame for this.
Yeah, I think there's more iconic cars from television shows versus movies, but yeah, I'd say it would have to be the Batmobile, Ecto 1, the DeLorean from Back to the Future.
Yeah.
And then Steve McQueen's Mustang from Bullet. And then I would put the Bandits. Is that a Firebird, Thunderbird from Smoking the Bandit?
Yeah, I think it's a Firebird.
Yeah, well, those would be my 5. I'm sure a couple people would bump the Bandit's car and Steve McQueen's off my list, but those would be my 5.
Yeah, I can't think of any other iconic movie vehicles. Yeah, I like the Smokey and the Bandit as well.
Yeah. This last one here. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, yeah, no, you're good. I was just trying to think of more vehicles, but no, I can't.
I'm sure something will come to mind later on, but that's my 5. Last one. This is also you have to choose between one or the other.
Okay.
And this is the best way I could phrase it, considering this is very short notice. Couldn't think of anything more clever off the top of my head. But who smoked a cigarette without letting the ash hit the ground better? Dan Aykroyd in Ghostbusters or Samuel L. Jackson in Jurassic Park?
Oh man, that's. I'm gonna have to give it to Dan Aykroyd because, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't quite remember. I've probably seen it more than Ghostbusters, but I don't quite remember him doing the same thing in Jurassic Park. But Dan Aykroyd would whip his head around a couple of different times in that scene, and that cigarette would be dangling super hard, and it would swing along with his head, and it was perfect. It stayed pristine on his lip. So I'm gonna have to give it to Dan Aykroyd.
I'm gonna go Samuel L. simply because he's letting it burn and it doesn't steady itself. It's always bouncing because he's always trying to he's mumbling to himself what part of the park he's trying to open. He can't open it. Yeah. So he's always talking, and the cigarette's bouncing every time. And so it's there's not any ounce of stabilization in that cigarette. It's always teetering.
True. That's true. The head swing still gives it momentum to swing in the same direction, but Samuel L. Jackson talking makes it bounce in different directions.
That's very true.
So yeah,
we'll give it to Aykroyd. But Sam's is holding on for dear life.
No, we're gonna have to come up with more movies where cigarettes dangle out of people's mouth, and that ash is just sitting there. We're gonna have to see if there's another scene. We're gonna have to put them up against these two.
Well, I thought of an episode idea on the fly. Probably happen later down the road. However, we should come up with a movie episode sometimes best movie smokers of all time.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I know for one, De Niro in Midnight Run, is a definite winner, and then the nurse from Halloween is a definite loser. She's just chain smoking, but doesn't make it look cool at all. So, episode idea at some time: the best smokers of all time.
I think Joaquin Phoenix does some pretty heavy smoking as the Joker too.
I tell you, who could smoke fucking cigarette may look cool is John Travolta in Broken Arrow.
Yeah,
he would always have this thing where he would he would lock the shoulder and everything would just be from the elbow down.
Yeah,
and I was like, man, okay, I can see that. And then Andrew Dice Clay in The Adventures of Ford Fairlane also gets some run. Because he always had to pop the shoulders when he did it too.
I think we've got an episode going there.
Yeah, I think we got a little bit of a stew going in the old pot there. There's some seasoning on that bad boy. Let it marinate for a bit. All right. Well, that's all I got for today. Anything you want to add before we wrap this bad boy up?
Yeah, just that this is one of my staples. This is one of my go-tos for spooky season. It's one of the ones that I like to share with the kids when they're old enough to appreciate it, and it scratches that paranormal itch, kind of like Men in Black in the 90s. It's that kind of funny, paranormal, creepy vibe. You don't get a lot of those movies nowadays, and I really, really like it, and I'm glad that we got to do a podcast on it.
Yeah, I know this was one we've been circling for quite a while. I think this just was kind of like the best time to do it outside of next year when it celebrates. Ghostbusters will be 40 years old next year.
We might need to do a franchise podcast or something when we get to that anniversary date.
Or the re-Ghostbusters or Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
They are coming out with the sequel to Afterlife that's supposedly like icy or snowy or whatever. They released the logo, the Ghostbusters logo, all frozen, so as a teaser. So maybe they're ramping up to do some kind of anniversary release for that, and we can do something with that.
Well, that was supposed to come out. I think it was supposed to come out this upcoming month, and it got pushed back because of the actors and writers strike. So they moved it into next year, which kind of sucked because there's still some good stuff coming out, but not quite as strong as it would have been normally. So I don't know. Well, that's going to wrap up today's episode. We do have a very special episode we're going to drop probably Halloween night. I'm just going to let the cat out of the bag now. We're going to do Halloween, the 1978 John Carpenter classic. Got a very special guest coming on, a gentleman that has never been on our show before. He's pretty excited to be on the show. Hopefully it doesn't ruin his reputation like it's done me and Adam's. But that should be good. So this one, and you get an extra episode coming out next week. So that should be fun. Just be sure to follow us, subscribe on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss out on any episodes. You can follow us on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X, or whatever the fuck it's called this week, on Threads. I'm going to say it again. I need to do better on TikTok. I need to go through a tutorial. My son will probably have to show me how to edit videos. But all those links are in the show description. Also email us, let us know your thoughts on what you've heard, show ideas, just random thoughts, whatever you want to talk to us about. Shoot us an email, send us messages on the socials. We'd love to hear from you. So until next time, we will talk to you guys later.